I actually enjoyed the first Life is Strange game. It took Telltale's already tired formula and improved upon it by building a much bigger world to explore, and brought it to life with multiple NPCs with some actual character. It even had an actual gameplay mechanic with time rewinding that kept it from becoming just another talking simulator, with all the conversational engagement of pressing 1 for English when prompted by the synthesized voice on the other end of the call. Well, Life is Strange 2 takes a step back from all that. Several steps back, in fact. They simply pressed 2 for Spanish when it came time to write the plot, then refashioned the gameplay to make it more like the Telltale games they had already left in the dust. I'm willing to wager the most memorable thing about this game in a few months is that I posted this video.
While I do agree the first Life is Strange game took Telltale's concept but expanded upon it, I completely disagree with the fact that Life is Strange 2 took a huge step back from the first, seeing how Don't Nod has more advanced stuff and able to make a game look this good and add mechanics that weren't present in the first game.
Hey lovebirds, back from the loony bin?
Hi there, just checking in to see if you will be available for a scheduled plot development in the next 10 minutes.
Saying that isn't even a problem with the game.
The Playbox video game console must have been one of those kick-started projects from the looks of it. The controller doesn't even have analog sticks.
Have you ever considered it might have been a creative choice with the developers?
Daniel spends hundreds of hours yelling into the mic playing Minecraft with Noah.
Daniel name drops Minecraft so many times it feels like the game is hoping to pick up the license from Telltale.
First of all, I think he meant Sean said Minecraft, not Daniel. And second, he only says it like 3 times in the first episode.
Retrospective sitting makes a return. I'm still not sure why this has become a staple of the series. Introspection happens when you're standing as well.
It's almost like you're playing a story-driven game that appreciates small moments like this.
That is not what a jar of mayonnaise looks like. I even looked up what French mayonnaise looks like just in case this was a cultural thing. Mayonnaise jars are the same over there too.
Again, it might have been a creative choice from the developers. Not everything has to be realistic, dude.
Time to Skype Layla on my laptop.
Who the hell uses Skype in 2016, the year this is set? Get on Discord. By the way, the link to my Discord is down below.
Maybe Skype was a lot more convenient back then. And shamelessly plugging your social media cliche.
Hold on, okay?
Someone needs to inform Don't Nod that you can begin your story without the local bully harassing someone. Going by the standard this series is set, every superhuman was just a bullied child who was pushed too far one day.
Seeing how the bully moment sets up Sean and Daniel's relationship throughout the whole game, it's safe to say that the bully moment needed to happen to start the story right.
Then go back to your own country.
You can tell what the theme is going to be for this game right off the bat. I never felt beat over the head with a message this much in the first Life is Strange.
Despite this being one of my favorite games, I will admit the message is kind of forced, so I'll give him this.
This game goes to such extremes to set up a situation where a cop misunderstands what's happening and shoots Sean and Daniel's father that I end up siding with the cop. Because from his point of view, the situation looked messed up. First, Daniel splashed the neighbor that was bullying him with fake blood and Sean pushed him over, causing a seizure. So when the cop arrives, he suspects something far worse has happened. None of the actual police shootings this game is drawing upon required more setup than someone wearing a hoodie.
There kind of was no side of this, but we as the audience know what happened, and if the cop gave them time to explain, it wouldn't have been that much of an issue. But since he didn't and jumped to conclusions, we have the story of Life is Strange 2. The cop didn't really need to shoot the dad, seeing how he just came out to defend his kids and try to calm the situation down, so he deserves to die.
The plot of the game is predicated on Sean acting like an idiot and running away with his brother instead of giving a statement to the police. Both of them are minors. Their father was just shot and killed by a cop, and there appears to have been an explosion with no possible source. What would they even charge you with?
So you're meaning to tell me that Sean is an idiot for panicking from watching his dad die and witnessing an explosion around them? I think running away is the more reasonable option.
Sean and Daniel would not have gotten very far on foot if the police were pulling up to his house at that moment, especially by walking along main highways near tourist locations like Mount Rainier. This is 2 days later. There would be news broadcasts and police searches. Every car that passed them would possibly alert the police to 2 kids walking down the road.
If you paid attention to the dialogue, which I know you didn't, it explains that there hasn't been a car for those 2 days they've been walking, and there is a receipt in Sean's inventory that says they went to a restaurant, so this statement is basically invalid.
Why isn't Dad with us, Sean? Doesn't he want to go camping too?
Yes, but I told you that he can't.
Kids can be dumb, but even at Daniel's age, I don't see him buying this story.
You clearly haven't paid attention to the dialogue because he doesn't ever question his story until they arrive at the motel.
2019 has been a better year for games that want to teach you what it's like to raise a small and annoying child.
I'm gonna stop him right here because he just lists off different games with the same trope and calls the writers childish.
You see that? Looks like a clicker. Creepy.
Yeah.
How does Daniel know what a clicker sounds like? I saw the game console they had in their home. It wasn't a PlayStation.
Sean was the one that made the clicker noise. Plus, YouTube exists in this world, and Playbox is a mixture of the word PlayStation and Xbox, so technically it is.
By this point in the first episode of Season 1, you had already witnessed and stopped an attempted murder, figured out Max's power, reconnected with an old friend, met most of the important characters, and were already looking for Rachel Amber. In Season 2, you spend a long time walking in the woods and setting up camp with your little brother.
Wow! It's almost like this is a completely different game, with a completely different story!
I know what you're thinking. What the hell is this creep looking at?
No, I don't mean... I mean...
It's not as weird as it seems, though. These people, they only want to live a normal life. Just naked.
Whatever the story you're writing is about, you can at least close your laptop when a small child is standing right there in view of it.
This is actually a good point, and I'll give him that.
Sir, we paid for this. And the map was free.
Well, let's go inside. You can show us what you bought.
No, thanks. We have to go.
Nope. You're going inside.
Did Hitler win World War II when we weren't looking? Is that the lore of this world? That would go a long way to explaining why every white person who doesn't write a progressive blog is the most cartoonish version of prejudice since the 1936 Olympics.
Random statement that had nothing to do with what was going on.
You're the reason we need to build that wall.
If this were any other game genre, I would not be surprised if Trump showed up as a final boss like Hitler did in Wolfenstein 3D. Somehow, killing Mecha Hitler in that game was less cringe in this game's anti-prejudice message.
Again, different game with a different fucking story.
The gas station owner left the keys to the back door inside the very room he locked Sean inside.
Or, you know, he could have simply forgot they were there.
Daniel clearly uses power to knock over the gas station owner. The old guy doesn't mention it, and Sean has never once had a single thought about all the weird stuff that's happening around his little brother.
Well, Sean did see the aftermath with Daniel's power, and the old guy was knocked out, so he couldn't have remembered what happened exactly.
I come from a family with money, but no soul. I took off after school and never looked back. Now I write stories for zines and websites, do podcasts, protest, try to make some positive change. Whatever.
Wow. So you're like all political.
Everything is political, Sean.
Brody is the game's idea of a good white male. Let that sink in. Take a good close look. You may not like it, but this is peak anti-privilege. Bow down in worship, for he shall show us the way.
Or he could just be explaining what he does with no deep part in it. Just saying.
Brody stops at an overlook of Arcadia Bay so we the viewers can feel a bit of nostalgia, but considering it's a piss break, I see it more as a metaphor of the devs pissing all over that nostalgia. If this is the best you can do, instead of calling your studio Don't Nod, maybe consider renaming it to Don't Bother.
Without that horrible reason to send a shot of Arcadia Bay, this is another thing that has nothing to do with the game itself.
It's not your fault. You don't have control over all this stuff. You can't blame yourself for everything that happens in this world.
I'd prefer the role of the traveling wise stranger.
Literally has nothing to do with the game.
Where are you going?
Good question. I was thinking... get out of the country? Fuck it. Go down to Mexico, you know?
You know, Canada is a real place, and isn't even that far from you. It's not just a country that exists in the minds of people who like being cold and vitamin D deficient.
Well, Sean really wasn't thinking about going to Canada, seeing how it was mainly a journey to go to where his father came from, and probably didn't know Canada wasn't far from them.
If you think that's the right thing to do, yes, this is exactly what you're supposed to be doing.
This is truly horrible advice. Brody should be telling Daniel to go to the police before things get even more out of control, not drag his little brother all the way south to Mexico, which is not exactly any safer for two kids on their own.
I would remove a sin, because what he said was good advice, and what they probably should have done right from the start, but he said Daniel instead of Sean, so he gets a sin added.
Maybe I was too hard on Brody. He actually acts just like a typical white person. Shows up, lectures a minority on what they should be doing, makes himself feel good about his deed, then leaves them and later writes about the experience on his blog having risked nothing.
This man must really love wasting his breath on stupid inferences that don't affect the story. More useless bullshit, so skip.
Your dad is dead! Why?
The Exposition News Network is interrupting children's cartoons for important news updates on police shootings.
Daniel did change the channel to listen to a song with Sean, so they could have interrupted that instead.
Daniel's power caused memory loss the first time he used it, so he never recalled the fight that caused their dad's shooting. He also didn't recall slamming the gas station owner to the ground with it. He will never suffer from memory loss again after this.
This is an actual gaming sin that doesn't make any sense why they didn't expand upon that at all in this game.
They all lived happily together, but one day, hunters took their dad away.
Every episode begins with a recap using wolves as stand-ins for the brothers. This series has always given every main character a spirit animal to represent them, but it's never been this corny with it.
I think it's safe to say that this guy does not like creative things in games and wants rushed or bland things in his stuff.
One of the major problems of Life is Strange 2 in relation to the first game is the structure of the narrative. The first season stayed in one town and gave you 5 episodes of character development for everyone, meaning you had time to learn about the world and feel invested in it. Life is Strange 2 is a road trip story, which can work when executed well. Emphasis on well. Every episode introduces a new cast of characters you have to learn all about before they are tossed out by the start of the next one. It takes a very compelling main lead to make the constantly changing world and cast seem interesting enough through his interactions with them. Sean has all the personality and life of a Halloween mask draped over a bedpost. This game serves as an excellent lesson on how to lose fans and alienate people.
Or maybe it's taking a different approach to things, having the characters grow in different locations and meeting new people to expand upon that growth, unlike Life is Strange where it was too focused on the investigation to care about the secondary characters. Also, Max Caulfield was bland as fuck in that game, so having Sean with some sense of a personality makes this game better in my opinion.